This is Dr. Carmen Smith, and I wanted to share with you an experience that I just had. And if you're on your spiritual journey and you know that your thoughts are really important, we're tested when we have thoughts that trigger our fears. And I wrote the book, The I Am Solution, so that we can challenge those fearful thoughts and move more into love. But there was something that happened recently that I thought I should share. And it was a test for me. It was a trigger. So my son had some chest pain, and we met up at the emergency room. And I went into my trigger, which is the fear of loss, the fear of not having my son anymore, and the fear of my son suffering. And so with that trigger, because I've been on my spiritual journey for many years, I was able to observe my thoughts. I was able to watch what I was thinking, and like the observer. And knowing that all is well and I'm living in love, I could tell when this other fear came up that was different from my normal everyday reality walk. So I was able to observe it. The real information came when I started telling the story about the situation. So my son is fine, but when I was telling and reliving that story to my sister, I started to observe how I was telling the story. Was I telling the story from my sense of fear? Who's telling the story? Who is afraid? Am I still living in the fear of loss, even though he's doing well? And what that's all about. So I want to let you know that it's okay to observe yourself as you're telling and reliving the story. As a matter of fact, I learned so much from how I was telling the story. I learned that I reached back into my past to justify some of my fears and some of my concerns. I also wanted to have somebody to blame. So all of those things are helpful because it shows us how we keep these stories going. One of the things that I told my sister at the end, towards the end of the call, is I said, I'm not going to tell that story anymore. I learned what I needed to learn from that story. And then we went into affirmative prayer. I said, all is whole and complete the way God has made my son to be. All is well in my thoughts. I'm releasing the fear, the triggers, all of those things that were in my mind that I created. And I decided to return to love, to return to safety, to return to all things manifesting as God has ordained them to be. And I was creating the story rather than my fear creating the story. And I think that's so important on our physical journey here on this planet, to remember that we are creators, we are spiritual beings. And whenever fear creeps in and our triggers creep in, we go back to that human way of dictating and creating the story, which is not something that we want to live out. So it's okay to be the observer of our emotions, our fears, in order for them to be released. It's okay to be the observer in that story and let the ego and the fear know that this is the last time I'm telling that story. I needed to learn how I am attached to it so that I can release it. So I just want to let you know that we can do that in all aspects of our life when fear creeps up. And set yourself a limit. I'm only going to tell that story once, and then it's gone. I'm not going to live in it. I hope that's helpful today. Love you.